Get ready for episode number 23 of Boutique Chat with the reigning global boutique of the year, Kelsey Darby and the Lace Cactus from Hico, Texas. Let's talk about your business, strategy, and the juicy details of what actually works, from mainstream fashion to fashion on Main Street, and the entire ecosystem behind it. How do we scale your company and do it with the balance and the happiness that we all seek? Let's hear from those insiders, experts, and strategists that actually make it happen. I'm your host, Ashley Alderson from the Boutique Hub, and I can't wait to chat. Hey guys, get ready for an emotional and fulfilling and inspiring episode this week. I can't wait to share this story with you because we're chatting with Kelsey Darby, the owner and founder of the Lace Cactus, which is currently the Global Boutique of the Year, named in the 2017 Boutique Awards, which are just relaunching for 2018 this week. So there's never been a better time to visit with Kelsey and to hear all about her story, from being a single mother at 19 and dreaming about starting her own business and exactly how she did it from home and selling almost everything she had to make this business work. Now, this isn't just a Cinderella story of starting from literally nothing and building something amazing, but it's also a story of what happens when you get to the top and things fall apart, which they definitely can. We're talking about business issues, we're talking about marriage issues and family issues, and what it's like to have it all, lose it all, and then figure out how to get it back again. Kelsey has been so honest and so transparent with her journey, not just on this podcast, where she's honestly sharing more on this podcast than I even knew existed. She's told me this story, but she goes into so much more depth in this show than we're even aware of. And I'm so proud of her authenticity and her ownership of what her journey has really looked like. And I think you're going to appreciate this open, raw interview with Kelsey as well. Now, this girl has accomplished so much in such a short period of time. I'm so proud of what she's done with this business, and she's so humble on top of it. So I hope you listen to this episode and you keep a couple things in mind. I hope you know that everyone starts somewhere and that you should never, ever compare your journey to someone else's. Never compare your beginning to someone else's middle. And also remember that even though things can look so glossy and perfect on social media, there's often more to this story. So guys, enjoy this episode with Kelsey. She is such a class act and I know you're going to love it. All right. Hey guys, welcome back to the Boutique Chat podcast. This week, I am so lucky to be joined by Kelsey Darby, our reigning Global Boutique of the Year winner for the Lace Cactus. Hey girl, welcome to the show.
Hey. Thanks for having me.
So I can't wait. We should have done this interview a long time ago. This has been a long time coming.
Yeah.
You guys such an awesome story to share and so many pivotal points along the way that I know everyone listening is going to be able to take something away from and say, wow, that really applies to me in my life. But I want to start really at the high point of where you are now, because we were just talking beforehand that even since I last saw you at the Boutique Summit, how your business has grown even more and is going so well, right? Fourth move of your warehouse. Your brick and mortar and online sales are blowing up. You spoke at the summit, all good things. Tell me about that.
Yeah, everything right now is going really, really good. We are in our fourth warehouse move, which has been a lot. There's definitely, I know everybody's experienced growing pains, and it's been a little bit painful, but it's all been very well worth it. This new place has really allowed us to grow in a huge way, which we've never been able to. We actually have room now where we're not tripping over each other, which is a blessing. And everything's just going really good right now. And I should knock on wood for that, because I've definitely seen it when it's not good. But for now, everything is just flowing, and I'm dedicating so much more time and energy and balancing better. It's like everything overall is just doing better. And like I said, I've seen that go. So I'm really enjoying it while it's here and dedicating all I can to hopefully keep this going and keep moving up.
Absolutely. Well, you definitely deserve it. That's for sure. Because like you said, you've seen the highs and the lows, which we're going to talk about in a bit. some of these growing opportunities you mentioned due to space, right? You can order more. But
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, what were some of the other things that you've started doing that's really kind of changed in the last 3 months, your business really, to make it grow even more?
Right. For us, I think one, taking a little more time on the pictures. I do all of our photos. I model all the clothes, but as you all know, being a business owner, when it's busy, it's really hard because you're dirty from unboxing all the new stuff, and you're trying to help do this and that, and you're trying to do the paperwork, and you're trying to get pictures, and it's hard. But I think realizing that I can't do it all, and I need to find what's the most valuable part of my job, and what is everybody else's job if we don't have stuff to sell and we can't sell it without a picture. So I have learned to take more time and get a little more detail, with the photos, and try a little harder and not just rush through it and walk outside and take it. And also, along with that, our image is getting out more Facebook ads. It's something I've always kind of had a love-hate relationship with. I had done, lots of research on it and everything, and I just couldn't figure it out. I don't know if it was I wasn't taking the time or what it was, but I branched out into that. The summit, I learned so much, and that was one of the things. And I took some of what I learned there and paired it up with what I felt would work. And instead of just going with what, whoever was speaking said works, I just went with what, a few things of what they said, tied in with what I believe would work. Mm-hmm. And it's just worked. And dedicating more time to Instagram and the other platforms, and not just Facebook, and sending more emails and sending out, text blasts, and just being all over, and not just in dedicating all our time into one area, but spreading it out and making sure that we're hitting all the stops. And that has helped us grow tremendously.
That's awesome. Your business has definitely become more multidimensional. I would say, even from an outsider's perspective, I can see that change that's taking place.
Oh, that's awesome to hear.
Yeah. So let's go back to the very beginning, because we have a lot of story to share and a lot of actionable takeaways on how you went from point A to point B. But I'd love for people to know how you got started on this journey in the first place.
Okay. Well, I was 19 years old when I started. Feels like a million years ago. And I was a stay-at-home mom. And actually, there's a part of this story I've never told, but I was working at a fabric store, and they set up this bow making class, and I had learned how to make bows online. And that's actually where this all began, because I had Aubrey, and I was making bows for her. And so I started making money by teaching people how to make bows at this fabric store. And I would sell my bows, to people and friends. And that's kind of where it actually started. I know that I did all the crafts and stuff like that, but it all really started with me making my daughter hair bows, because I had a business that was near us. She was using Facebook, and she was selling bows. And I would see people comment. It was like the first time I'd ever seen that. People were commenting and buying her bows, like right on Facebook. And I thought, I can do that. That's really cool. But, I didn't have money like at all. And I really, really wanted this, like since I was a child, just to do something selling. And it was always my passion was clothes. But obviously, when you are a 19-year-old mom, you don't really have a lot of money. So I had to get creative, and I've always been really crafty. So I started just making anything I could. I would like rummage through my mom's barn or my grandma's garage or my garage, or really anything anybody would give me, I would take it. And so I could revamp it and make money, because that money was going to go towards buying clothes. And eventually it got to. And so it all started in my garage, making these crafts from stuff people would give me. And I eventually had enough money to start buying clothes. And I actually then got to start my real dream. My dream was not to be in my garage making crafts, but that's where it started. And, anything you got to do, just do it for your dream. So I did that, and it was lots of hot nights and lots of spray paint. It was not always fun, but sometimes you got to do stuff you're not super crazy about to get to where you want to be. And that is where I started. And I was doing all this like out of my house. I started a Facebook page for the Lace Cactus, and I opened up a little booth, and I would sell my stuff out of there. I didn't have any clothes at that time, but I would post these signs I would make, and people just went crazy over them. It was in the first week I got like 1,000 likes. and I couldn't keep up with these orders. It was unreal how quick these orders were coming in. And I would invoice them through PayPal, and it just blew up. And, eventually I got to do the close part, which was, the whole point of it. But yeah, it all started at my house.
Yeah. So how long were you doing that online with that first Facebook before you moved into your first storefront?
Okay, so I actually didn't. I was 19 then, so I didn't move into my first storefront until 2014. So by then, I'd already had my second child. I'd done all of this out of my living room. And my son slept with me every night. And when he was a baby, so I used his room as like my tiny little warehouse. And I had all my stuff in there, like in his closet. I was so small. There would be like little packs of clothes, but as soon as I would get it, I would sell it, and I was not doing business right then. It was more like, I'm just trying to make money to make it through this week, if that makes sense. Like there was no long-term plan. I was kind of just posting it so, we could pay our bills at that time. But yeah, eventually I was able to get my first storefront. I will never forget that day. I walked in that door and there was a for rent sign on the door. And this woman, I had grown up going in there my entire life. And I'm a huge believer that everything happens for a reason. And nobody in a million years would ever think she would sell this building. It's her favorite. I mean, she owns a lot of buildings, but this one, she had her little fudge shop in, and she is so attached to that place. And when I saw that for rent sign, it blew me away because that was my dream building. And I walked through the door and the for rent sign fell to the ground. And she didn't even ask me any questions because I've known her since I was a child. And she was like, this place is meant for you. And it has been. It was unreal. I will never forget that. She cried. I mean, it was such a crazy moment that happened. I dreamed of that my entire life. I grew up downtown, walking up and down the streets. My grandmother had a business down there, and for that to happen was so surreal. It was really neat.
That's so cool. And so in case someone's listening, they don't know, this is downtown Hico, Texas, and
yes,
you're still in the same location, correct?
Yes. Yeah, we are still there.
Man. So talk about, I remember, let's go back to your Facebook page at the time, because I think I've told you this and have told this story. I remember when I first found you on Facebook, and it was like the Lace Cactus, like crack. Like these women were so crazy to get your stuff. It was, I would like type my email address in there when you were launching new arrivals and be like, I'm just going to see if I can win one, which was
right.
Right? Because, I mean, you still have to pay for it, but if I got to actually have something shipped to me, I was winning, right?
Right. Yeah. It was crazy. And sometimes I think back on that and I'm like, I'm not even sure if half the time they even wanted what they were buying. They just wanted something. It was like this weird lottery that they were like, it was crazy. And I mean, seriously, we would tell them, 8:00. And I wish I could have seen how many women were just waiting by their phones at that time, because I remember I would like post a top and I would hit refresh and there would be like 100 comments. It was the craziest thing. And sometimes I miss it, but then I remember all the invoicing and, all of that. So I don't really, and it's hard to get that back. Now we're more, that was really fun and really exciting. And I love that. And people don't ever like believe me when I tell them just how crazy it was. But I think now it's just like the consistency of it. We're more solid. Like that was really fun and exciting. But gosh, that whole deal, it just not having the website, it was hard. And I didn't even have a storefront at that when I first started doing that. But yeah, that was a lot of fun back then doing that.
Do you think that part of, I think about your story and like, why or how did that happen? Because I'm always trying to like reverse strategize, this process. Right. But I think what you were doing that no one else was really doing at the time was just being you. You were just
right.
real and so open with your customers, and they were so into that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think that, and I sometimes I sit and I just think about it all, but I'm such an open person. I believe, everybody's human, and it's okay if you've got flaws, and it's okay that you don't do everything right. And I really embrace that. I am so far from perfect. I make mistakes daily. Mm-hmm. And so for me, just be human. It's okay. Like you're going to do things that are wrong, and you're going to do things, you're going to mess up and you're going to fail. And with my customers, they were like my friends. I didn't really have a lot of friends, and I've always been kind of reserved. It's not that I'm like picky. I really care about who I surround myself with, because I really feed off of like good vibes and stuff. And so with me, I kind of found like a friendship in all of these women, and I could go on there and talk about, I was pregnant, and tell them about, like this awesome doctor's appointment I had, or, we're getting to start, decorating Ben's room before he was born. And, and just tell them like, hey, I'm really not feeling good today, and I'm not going to get all these invoices done today, or, the shipments are going to be a day delayed. And they always understood. My customers were like my friends. And I think it was definitely not like a strategy. That's just how I am. Like I will talk to anybody and tell them anything, because if somebody holds something you say against you, that's on them. I mean, as long as you're just being yourself, it's okay. And so for me, I just always have put that into my business and just been myself. And, if I'm down or if I'm failing, it's okay. Like they will relate to that. Just tell them. And some people, for a long time, like nobody really put their stories out there. And I think that was something different, that I did. And I was very open about how I started. That number one. And I think I don't like to, think about, I just kind of roll with it. But I seriously, I hope at least that my story of how I started, like from nothing, I really believe, and at least from the messages I get a lot, that it inspired women, that they don't have to have a lot of money or a college degree or anything to become what they want to be and to start a business. And, I've had a lot of people come forward and tell me like that, your story really inspired me to go for it. And I was always scared to, because I didn't have, this big savings account or, a degree in marketing or anything like that. And I kind of proved to a lot of women, like you can do it. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter. Like I was, the stay-at-home mom at 19, and I was able to make it happen. And always putting that story out there, people just fed off that. They loved it because they could relate. Mm-hmm. And I think that number one, that's what really has drawn our customers and their loyalty to me, because they have somebody to relate to. And so it's not just a computer screen.
You bet. I remember when we first talked about your story, even on the Boutique Hub, we did a blog post about you. And still to this day, that's one of the most viewed blog posts that we have.
Really? Wow, that's crazy.
I know.
That's really cool though.
It is. And the title is How a 19-Year-Old Stay-at-Home Mom Built This Huge Boutique Empire.
Right. Yeah. That's really cool. I didn't know that. That's awesome though.
So let's talk about what happened next, because you had this, Cinderella growth story happening, and you started to expand the business. You opened a second location, bought a jewelry company, and things began to change. Tell us what happened next.
Okay. Yes. For me, that was, there was a huge turning point for me, and it did go from being like on top of the world. And I remember it was really crazy when I look back on it, and I felt so empty at that time. And it's really sad, because I had so much, and I had this amazing online business. I had 2 storefronts. I had this jewelry company. I was living like every girl's dream, seriously. But I think for me, I don't know if it's that I took it for granted or what. And I things happen, and I sometimes I put a lot of like guilt on myself. Like, was I ungrateful for what I had, or did I take, I don't know. But I know that for me, the numbers were just not good. They were so bad. And even though we were so big and all this was going on, it just kind of, it's like this waterfall effect. Like things weren't going good. Oh, I should definitely buy a jewelry company. That'll make it better. And let the business that's already not doing that great pay for it. Horrible idea. Well, then that didn't do good. It was 3.5 hours away, and I was not in the best place of my life. It was a really hard time for me. I had a lot going on in my personal life. And I think a lot of those things I was doing, like buying the jewelry company and then not ever going down there. I just was not in anything that I had. My heart was nowhere. And doing that, and then because that was failing, trying to open up this storefront, I just wanted to feel the success that everybody saw, but I was hurting myself. And I just kept adding on, and I felt nothing for it. I had no heart. I had no feeling for it. I may have been kind of depressed, honestly. I mean, seriously. And I'm not one to like admit that. And that's something I should be able to own. But it was just a really hard time for me. And I was so blind to what was going on in my life and in my business. And I just kind of put on this smile and posted these cute pictures on Facebook, like everything was great. And it wasn't at all. And it all kind of snowballed down. And for me, I ended up getting a divorce, and then I really got into a dark place. It was so hard. And I just kind of got buried further and further. And when I think back at that time, I can just like see myself in like sinking sand and just trying to like get my head above to breathe. And I just kept sinking further and further, and there was no way out. And at that point, I really, truly did become depressed, and I never wanted to leave my house. I didn't even think about the numbers. I didn't even think about how much money I was spending on keeping all these places alive. And that once I shifted the money around, I didn't even have money to pay for my bills. I mean, it just got worse and worse and worse until there was no money for anything, nothing. And it came down to this point. And there I am, like laying in bed, trying to hide from the world. And I'm like, wow, they're turning my electricity off. This sucks. And I'm laying there doing nothing. And I could see how much it was hurting the people around me. I had let my employees go, my family, the people that, you know, depended on me and this big business that they all saw. And I kept so much from them. I never told them. And I still, like, I kept it so secret what was going on. And I let them go. And I had to sell Sookie. And I didn't get near, you know, what I wanted to out of that. And then I had to sell my second storefront. And when I went to show her that building, the electricity was off. We were walking around with flashlights. And I had to make something up about they're working on the electricity. But everybody else around me had electricity. So it was obviously a lie. I'm sure she wondered. But it was depressing. Like, it was really sad. And you know, and even up until that, I mean, I had my Hico storefront closed like all during Halloween, all during Christmas. Everyone's asking questions. Everybody's wondering what's going on, and I'm just hiding out. And so I started making all these moves. And that day, I mean, I remember that feeling when they turned off my electricity, and I was like, here I just went from the top of the world, and I'm going to have to borrow money to pay my light bill. Like, this is crazy. What have I done? And it just woke me up. And I realized, like, I have nothing right now, and I've got to make so many changes. And I can't even explain. Honestly, it's so much to even talk about, but I did all that. I started selling, and I started doing all this stuff. And you messaged me that day and wanted me to speak at the 2017 summit. And this goes like deep into my life, but my sister, and this may be a little too personal, and she's open with it now, and she has recovered, and it's been an amazing thing. She had attempted suicide right before that, and was really injured, and she was living with me. She didn't have a home. She didn't have anything. My dad, he has struggled with drug addiction his entire life, and he was in jail. And honestly, it felt like, could anything seriously get worse? Like, what can happen? I know that there's much worse things could happen, but honestly, I just felt like my world was on fire, and I'm broke. I got my sister living with me. I'm dealing with my dad, and he's trying to ask me for help. It was so much. And honestly, at that time, my divorce, like the end of that, was not good. We are better now. My dad is better now for the first time in 40 years. My sister is better. She has a place, everything like started leveling off. But I just got really sidetracked. I started to talk about the summit and I just went into all that deep stuff. But like I said, there's like so much to go into this story. And this is not a sob story. This actually is a really great story and it ends really awesome, by the way. But you did call me that day and I was like putting along and things were going good, but they were far from great yet. And it honestly, after everything was said and done, after I paid off all my debts, after I paid off all my bills, and I paid all these, different people back, I paid the bank, I paid this person, I paid off my PayPal loan that I had. It felt like I had so much money owed that everything I sold, it went to it. So if you're listening to this and you're like, well, you sold the business and you sold that, you must have had a ton of money. No, I did not have a ton of money. I actually had to go to the bank and say, hey, I know I owe this large sum of money. Can I give you this? And then in the end, can you give me $10,000 so I can start my business over? I sat down and typed up a 4-page letter to the board at the bank, brought it to them, spilled my story and what I was going to do and how I was going to make it work. And they gave it to me and I have no idea why, but they did. And I took that money, paid off everybody I could. And I had like $5,000 left, 75 or 5,000. And I put it towards merchandise and I just started turning it around. And little by little, we were, kind of just putting along. I opened the store back up. You called me that day and you wanted me to come and speak. And I was definitely not good yet. We didn't even have a website anymore. I didn't have a warehouse. I didn't even have any employees. Like, it was at the saddest point of the business. And you wanted me to come and talk. And I wanted to be like, Ashley, hell no. Like, I cannot do this. And I actually started to. I went to type up that letter that day to say, hey, I'm sorry. I just can't. I wasn't going to get into it with you. I didn't want you to hear my sob story, but I just didn't want to. And you announced that I would be there to speak. I was like, oh my God, here we go. But I have this like animal instinct in me that I don't want to let people down. And so I just started working and I got this momentum that I told myself, you're going to go and you're going to talk and you're going to have a good story to tell. And you're not going to have this big, sad story of your business and how it was failing. Like, you're going to have something good to talk about. And I made it my goal and it happened. And I just flipped as much stuff as I possibly could. I would stay down there at my store until my eyes were like about to fall out. I mean, I seriously worked so hard. I had eliminated all of my bills. I got rid of cable, which I still don't have. And I sold everything. I cleaned up my closet, my kids' closets. I sold basically anything I could. I mean, aside from like an organ, I sold it all. And I just kept going, and everything I sold, I was able to turn into, merchandise and sell it and make more money and just keep making more money. And that just helped the business grow. And I kept myself from like getting into that. I dedicated it all to the business. I didn't buy things for myself. I just put it towards the business. Mm-hmm. And it worked. And here I am. Sorry, I just rambled on that. And there's probably a million things I didn't cover, but.
Oh man, no, I'm over here on an emotional roller coaster just listening to you. So it's pretty amazing to hear. I had no idea, Kelsey, that, I mean, I knew some of the story, but wow, yeah. I didn't know a lot of that. So that, yeah. I mean, touches me in a whole new way. And yeah. I think a lot of people can relate to that, having been at that point. Do you think, like, when you started to turn it around, and this is all before Summit, correct? Mm-hmm. Like, when you made that decision, do you think part of that success starts first with mindset and just deciding?
Yeah, absolutely. When you're sitting in your home and you have a failing business or you're failing at something and you just want to shut yourself off from the world, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not. And once you just embrace the fact that you are failing, and now you've got to go. Like, you got to make this work.
Mm-hmm.
And my mindset changed so much. It honestly, I don't even recognize that person I was then and how I felt. And I eliminated everything that made me unhappy. Everything. Even if it was somebody on Facebook and their posts just rubbed me so wrong, like, why? Get rid of them. Stop looking at their posts. If they rub you wrong, eliminate them. They don't know you, and you're just reading their stuff and it's bothering you. Like, move on. And, or people that were like maybe nice to my face, but I knew they were like talking behind my back. Just don't even talk to them. Just move on, and just surround yourself with good people. But honestly, when I look back at that and I wonder why I am where I am now after all of that, my heart now is so grateful for what I have, everything I have. Sometimes I just look around and I'm so happy that I have all of this. It's amazing that I've worked this hard, and I think about all that. And I mean, for the love of God, I broke into my daughter's piggy bank to pay for groceries. Like, it was that sad. And then look, and it's amazing. And I think being grateful for the people that help me and my employees, and taking care of them and loving them and being like a family at this warehouse, and grateful for the people in my life, and just grateful for life, and not just like coasting by and just disregarding like all these amazing things that I have. And with that, you take pride in it, and you work harder, and you want to keep it. And the littlest things, you're like, I need to look into that, like every little thing. And you just are so aware of what you have and what you have to lose. And that's something that I never feared. I honestly remember my mom, she'd be like, Kelsey, you really need to look at this. She's always kind of like the worrier. Her and my grandma, they work here. And they would tell me like, Kelsey, I think you need to check the numbers on this. And honestly, in my head, it was almost like I was so arrogant. And I would be like, no, I'm never going anywhere. Like, this is great. Like, I'm on top of the world. What do you mean? Like, this business will go on forever. And then now I'm like, how could I be like that? How could I ever have felt that way? And it's hard to admit that I was that way, but I was. I never saw my business ever going anywhere but up. And it didn't. Now it is, which is great, but I'm a totally different person now. I'm so thankful for everything I have. There's not a single day that I take for granted. There's not a single day that I just want to be at this warehouse working. I love this, and I love what I'm doing, and the lives I'm changing. It's unbelievable.
Man, I was hearing someone the other day talking about the verse, though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, right? And the verse doesn't say you run through it. The verse says walk through it. And that is painful as it is. You have to endure that sometimes. The sweet is never sweet without the sour. But look at all the gratitude and the goodness that it brings once you make it through that storm.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's been worth I would do it all over again. I would, in a heartbeat. I would go through every single day of it all over again. And I just would. There's not a single day that I look back and like think and be like, I cry. I promise you it's not because I'm sad. I'm just so happy. I'm so grateful. And when I talk that, I do cry. And sometimes I hear certain songs that I used to like listen on repeat during that time, and I'll still cry because it was so hard. And I just think about how far I've come. But yeah, failure, you don't fear it, because honestly, my business would not have lasted. I mean, it wouldn't have. It would have slowly dwindled down if I hadn't just hit rock bottom. And that's something I've tried, I try to explain to people in my life, like, it's okay. And it's okay if you hit rock bottom, because that's when you're going to fight. You have nowhere else to go but up. And once you're down there and you see it all and everything goes into perspective, and you just reevaluate your life, and you realize like, this is happening for a reason. I remember that like awakening one day. I'm like, God is doing this for a reason. Like, this is my wake up call. Like, I'm living life wrong. I should be grateful. I should have been grateful. I should have been working harder and seeing what I had and fighting for it. And I wasn't. And it'll change you. But rock bottom and failure sometimes is it is for me the biggest blessing that's ever happened.
Hmm. So when you look at your life today, are there daily routines or things that you do on a daily basis that help you to stay in that place of gratitude, or things that you do every day that help your business to be more successful that have really changed because of what you've gone through?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, just I love every morning to like walk in my warehouse and just look around and see. It's crazy. Like our warehouse grows daily, and to walk in and it looks different every day. I mean, that's crazy. And just walk in and look at it and like think like I did this. And to take the time to not just work, but like to enjoy the people that I work with and to get closer with them. And for me, it's not so much a routine. It's just reminding myself, I think, every day. And I like to, honestly, I like to go back and look at like maybe 2 years ago, the numbers, or I have a book. I'll never throw it away, but it's got the list of things that I had to pay off once I finally got that $10,000 from the bank. And sometimes I look at that because I remember that feeling I had when I wrote it out and how scared I was and um, how that fear that I was going to lose everything. And I remember writing that list and like crying, like, how am I going to pay for all this? How am I going to do this? And I like to think back on that a lot. And I know that's like you shouldn't live in the past, but sometimes you kind of should visit it, because if you remember the bad times, it makes you really appreciate the good ones. And I think just constantly remembering that. I always look at my on this day post because I like to kind of look back and see like what I was posting during that time, and the stuff our business was posting, and just a reminder, like it can go away. Like what you have now, it can go, and you should be grateful and work really hard for it, because if you get in the wrong mindset or you get inconsistent, it can disappear. And that's another thing, consistency. It's crazy. Like if I'm gone for a few days, our sales just plummet because I'm not here and I'm not working. I don't go anywhere for a few days, but if I were to, because if I'm gone for like a day, you can see it. I would never disappear for a few days and not have everything planned out. Consistency, 110%. We're so consistent. I do new arrivals every single day. Every single day I take pictures. I have been trying to like bulk them, but consistency, 110% on how, things have changed for us, just staying consistent. And that's about it.
Would you say, the first step to getting you out of where you were to where you are now was the mindset piece, right? The decision piece of
Yeah.
it, gratitude piece of it. But tangibly, along with being consistent, what actions did you start to take? You started to dig into your numbers in a whole new way. I'm assuming you started to work with them in a new way. Talk about some of those tangible actions that you took that started to make a difference for you.
So I've always been really, really good at selling clothes. That's what I've always been good at. But what I've not been good at is running the numbers on those clothes I'm selling and looking at the fine print of that. And where is all this money going, and how am I spending it? And why does my bank account keep dwindling down? And that's really embarrassing almost to say, like, I had no idea what I was doing, honestly. And we look so big, but on the backside, I'm like, just rolling through life, no clue what I'm doing, just selling clothes and hoping for the best. But after everything kind of hit, I sat down and I wrote out every single cost I had, everything. I'm talking everything I could possibly come up with. And I figured out what it costs for me and my family, me and the kids, to live each day. It sounds crazy. Like what it costs a day for us to live. I needed to know, like, how much do I need to make? Like, how much do I need to start making so we can actually get ahead? Because that's one thing I realized was happening was you're making money, but if you're not matching it up with what it's costing you to basically survive and your business survive, you're never, ever going to get ahead. You have to like hurdle over that. So I got the numbers on what it costs for my store to run every single day, and the second store and Suki and my home. And that's when I realized, like, that's got to go. the jewelry business has got to go, and that money can go here, and then that'll eliminate that loan, and then that loan can go towards, the storefront. And then I ran the numbers. Obviously I was not going to get rid of that storefront downtown. As far as like the business that was in it, I actually ended up selling that building, which was very hard. But I sold it back to the lady that had sold it to me. She didn't want anybody else to have it, and we cried and prayed together that night. And she didn't want anybody to have it but me. And she bought it back because she knew how badly I needed it. I told her everything. She bought it back, and she promised me, and we just cried and prayed. And she told me that she would never sell it or give it to anybody, and that it would be mine when I was ready to buy it again.
Wow.
And yeah, it's wild. But just, realizing like, I don't need cable. I've got Netflix. I pay $10. I don't need to spend over $100 on cable. And realizing like, maybe I don't need Sirius XM. I don't need that. I've got my phone that has plenty of music. It was like all these little things. And like, I don't need this closet full of stuff when I wear athletic clothes every day. Maybe I should sell it. And my kids' clothes that don't fit them. But I've always kind of had that in me. Like even when I was a kid, and we didn't always have like a ton of money, but for me, it wasn't even that. I just wanted to be like independent. I've always been super independent, and I wanted to buy my own stuff. So even as a kid, like I would sell anything I could. And I would sell it because I wanted my new wardrobe for school to be bomb. And I was going to save every bit of money I could. And I've always been like that. I will sell it in a heartbeat because I know that even if I love it, one day when things are better, I can have it again. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it was just cutting everything out and just making, those changes with my household and the businesses and letting it go. And I started running those numbers very, very closely, everything. I mean, I know every penny in and out of this place now, and I cannot say that's how it was before at all. So that really keeping an eye on those numbers, making sure your money's going in the right place. I live in a small house. I live way within my means because I know that one day I'll have, a big, nice home. But until then, I want to grow my business. Who cares if my house has 3 little bitty bedrooms? I love it. And that's perfect for now because I'm trying to grow this business. And I think that's number one is realizing like, it's not about image. It's about what you're growing and the final income or the final outcome of it. Like, if I keep growing this, one day I can have, I can grow up to have this dream home or whatever, but it's working up to that. And when you're running a business, like you have to plan that out. You can't just splurge and buy this brand new home with your income you're making for your business. That's your business. Mm-hmm. And I think learning that and just keeping the money within the business.
It's the Dave Ramsey mindset, right? Like live like no one else so that you
right.
Like no one else. Absolutely. And a lot of the business of retail, there's a lot of art to it. But so many people that love the art, love the fashion, they forget the science. And really, at the end of the day, where is the money made? It's the science part of it. It's the math, the numbers, the art of buying and inventory. Talk to me about
absolutely.
You've built such a great business on Facebook. So you have new arrivals every day of the week on Facebook. You're back to your website now. What was it like for you to train your customers to go from comment selling, in which you didn't have a platform, you're manual invoicing, then moving them to the website and keeping them there? What's that been like?
So we've kind of had this, we've had to train our customers like 10 different times, I swear, because first we were comment only, for an invoice. And then we got the website and I never wanted to get that website. I was so scared because I thought, I've done this for years and we have the most loyal customers, but I knew it was time. I knew it was. And I was terrified. I stocked that warehouse and I had so much on that website. We did amazing that first night. I advertised, and that's the thing. If you're going to switch things up on your customers, you better make sure they know. Like if it takes 2 weeks of advertising, and which now I would, send them an email blast and text them or whatever. Then I just had to like word of mouth, Facebook, whatever. I don't even have Instagram them, and I don't think. But you really, I mean, you can't just make some crazy change and just jump to a website. So just letting them know, because we went from a website, then we went back to commenting and invoicing, and then we ended up getting another website. Then we had to switch from BigCommerce over to Shopify, and then our website crashed. So then we were comment sold. And I mean, we've been all over the place, but your customer, like our customers, they're so cool. I mean, there's a lot of them, but they're super cool. And they kind of just go with the flow. They'll do whatever. They just want their clothes, and they'll shop anywhere you send them. So for us, as long as we're advertising, we're just getting the word out, they're going to show up. They're going to come shop. But that is one thing, actually. It's kind of on the same subject of like training people. This is something that I think about a lot, because I always have this is like way off topic sort of, but I have a lot of people message me and they're like, hey, how do I get people on my website and all this stuff? It is not an overnight thing. I've just got to say that. That's been on my mind, and it's so hard to explain. If people don't know where you are and who you are yet, they have no idea how to find you. Mm-hmm. So it's a growing process. It does not happen overnight. You are not going to start your business and tomorrow see numbers like Philly Flair or myself or Cheekies. It doesn't happen. We have all put in so much time into this, and you have to build your customer base. You have to, start on social media. I mean, that's where people are going to find you, and then, or, Pinterest, whatever, and then get out there. That's how people are going to find you. They're not just going to randomly like type in, your boutique website and hunt you down. They got to know who you are. And that's one thing that I just got to get off my chest, because I'm asked that a lot. It's not an overnight thing.
You're so and it's not just one thing, right? I'm sure you get that question all the time. What is the one thing that you did that made you successful? And there's never one.
Right. No, it's not. And that's why I get so many messages, and I will open them. And I'm like, I don't have time. I don't even have time. I can't even, it would take so long to explain to you your question. And they just want one simple answer. And I'm like, it's so not simple. It's so complex, and I don't have enough time for this. Yeah. And nothing's just one thing. It's business. You're an entrepreneur. Everything's got like 1,000 different parts of it that you've got to do and figure out.
Amen. We get those questions all the time at the Boutique Hub too. And I'm sure you see that even in our Facebook groups, like, what's the one thing? Or, at the Boutique Summit, I want a speaker to tell me what, when Kelsey's speaking, I want her to tell me the one thing. And right. We're never going to satisfy people, because there's never going to be an answer. It's finding, and this is like you and I talking about Facebook ads recently. When we were talking about the ads that you're running and what's working. It's working for you because you've tested it, tried it, and made it work for you. But just because that doesn't mean it's going to work for someone else. Everyone has to dig in, get their hands dirty, and figure out what their one thing is going to be, because it's
absolutely one thing. Absolutely. I mean, if there was one thing, we were all doing it, we'd all be on the same page. We would all have the same numbers. There's not one thing. That's something that's so hard to get. And I'll even find myself, like, I'll find something new and I'm like, how do you master Pinterest? Well, my gosh, just, and I even find myself, I have to stop myself, like, Kelsey, you're not going to figure this out from Google. Just do it and figure it out. And honestly, that's what it takes. And I'm so guilty. Like, I'll ask Google and I get nowhere. And, even asking people, sometimes I'll read it and I'm like, okay, but then I remember that, my answers don't work for everybody either. And I can tell them, but everybody is so different. The way you use it, the way you do it, everybody's customers, there is no answer, honestly, on a lot of things. It's just giving it hell and trying your best and figuring it out. And if you got to try it 1,000 different ways, that's what it takes.
Yes. All right. Well, on this note of there not being any one thing, then let's ask some questions around the one thing, shall we?
Yeah.
So how about we do this? Quick tips. So okay. If there's something you wish you would have known on these topics, what would it be? Okay. Sound good? We'll play a game.
Yeah.
So if
Sounds
there's
good.
something you wish you would have known in terms of Instagram marketing, since I know you said, what is your 50% of your customers are now coming from Instagram? Is that what you said?
Yeah, if we're consistent. I mean, now no, because Facebook's killing it with those ads. But yeah, I mean, Instagram's really been good. I think when it comes to Instagram, one thing I wish I had known, um, well, one, hire somebody to do it because I always put it on the back burner. Should have done that a long time ago. And not making it the same as Facebook, kind of mixed it up. I wish I had known that. And I kind of just would like cross post everything. Well, my gosh, people probably follow, if they're following Facebook, they're probably following Instagram. They're just seeing the same things. So kind of mixing it up, like making it a little different and using our story. I wish I'd done that a long time ago.
Yes.
So that's it for me.
All right. What's the thing that you wish you would have known in terms of buying?
Buying. Well, I think on that is if I have it in my gut, like this is going to be a really good seller, just like go for it and buy a lot. Because if I feel it, I get a feeling, I see something, I'm like, that is going to sell out in minutes. I know it. And I've learned that when I get that feeling, I should buy like as much as I possibly can. And that's one. But then two is not being afraid. This is something like not being afraid to sell out and reorder it. It's okay. Like I do not like stuff just sitting on my racks. I don't want to have to mark it down. I would rather reorder it 1,000 times than have money sitting on my racks. I despise it. I don't want to be left with stuff I can't move. So I order small. And that's something probably a lot of big boutiques don't do. I don't order big at all. At all. I mean, it might be big to some, but 24 of some things, 48 of another. I might order 200, but it's being okay with just ordering something small. You don't have to feel big, be big, you know? And so ordering small, being okay with just like reordering, that's something I've made a mistake of before. And now I don't. I'll reorder 1,000 times.
It's good advice. And really, it's kind of funny because your advice is like opposite. The two pieces are like opposite of one another. Go big and go small. I take away from that, you have to first know your customer and have tested to know like the virality of your products.
Right. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
What's not.
Yeah, I kind of did contradict myself on that a little bit, but I'm telling you, for me, and don't take that advice. If you get this gut feeling and you're like just starting out, don't go crazy and buy like 200. But for me, I know my customers, I know what they love, and sometimes there's just that item and I feel it. And before it has to get recut or it gets on back order, if I feel it, I'm going to stock up. So, but that's for me. I'm not saying everybody do that. Don't do that. Just play it smart.
Yeah. But eventually, as you do grow, which that's everybody's end game is to be like the Lace Cactus where you are now, right?
Yeah.
The name of the game now is how do you turn those items faster? Like in retail, you get the best margin and you turn it the fastest. And that's where money comes at the end of the day. You have to have that formula.
Honestly, I think we kind of do have a formula with this. I really have a pretty good answer, I hope. For us, when each day, my goal is to get anywhere from 10 to 15 items on our website. Those 10 to 15 items, they are not going to have insane amount of quantities. They may have 24, some there may be 90. It all varies, but I'm very smart about how much I'm buying for each one. And I mean, every item I buy, I promise you I'm putting a ton of thought into. And so for us, we're going to get those out there. I advertise on Facebook. I do a giveaway. For me, the cost of a shirt that they choose as their item to win is nothing compared to what that overall night is going to turn in. Because then you have those items. And for me, I try really hard because we might get in like this week today. Well, it was kind of a big day. We got in like 50 new items, which is great. But some days, you know, we may get 20, but overall, we're going to get in anywhere from 100 to 200 new items a week. So my goal, as long as I might do 20 new arrivals a night or whatever, but I make sure that they flow together, if that makes sense. Like whether it be kind of tropical themed, or it's embroidery with like a blush pink color and khaki, everything flows, because that's one thing that I like to think I have a gift with is colors. And so colors like attract me. I mean, if it flows, they're thinking, cool, I can wear those shorts with those shoes and that top. That's awesome. It's all right there before them, like this outfit as they're clicking through the photos. Then they're all grouped together at the top of our new arrivals. And I mean, we will send out an email blast, and we might text them. We will post on Instagram. We will put in our story. We put it everywhere, every single day. And we do new arrivals every day except for one weekend day we don't. And usually Sunday. But for us, we order small. And I can tell you that like when we put our stuff on, most of it is going to be sold out within 24 hours. By the next morning, a good majority of it's sold out. And if it lingers and that item lingers, we will post it, or I might even throw it in an ad. And now I'm doing where I will go ahead and put our new arrivals, and I will pick, because they flow together already, so they're going to make a beautiful ad. And I put them together, and I put out an ad on Facebook, and people have been going crazy over them, like crazy over these ads, because they flow, they catch your eye, they go to your website, and we can't keep stuff. We reorder. We have like a restock list. That's what we call it. And we keep up with it. And I try to restock stuff every single day, because the people loved it, and you can tell. And I've got a strategy to that. Like if it sells out within the first hour, you better order all you can. And then if it sells out within 24 hours, you know, I've got like my number for that. Or if it doesn't sell out within, you know, a week, don't ever order it again, because it's not going to go anywhere. So there's definitely, for me, there's a huge strategy to that. Everything has a strategy when it comes to selling.
I like it. There's always an art, but it takes first, you build the audience, you cultivate the audience, and then you build the art and the science together of the business.
Yeah.
Love it. So your ads highlight something very special, right? Your ads, because I get served them like every day, highlight that you are the Global Boutique of the Year winner.
Yes.
Which is unique, because nobody else can say that in their Facebook page, right?
Yeah. I mean, they could, but
I mean, we've got stats to back that up. So what does that mean? I'm just curious, because the Boutique Awards, you know, this was a new thing that we did in the last year. So what did it mean for you to participate in that process, and to have that, to be able to attach it to your name? And even, I mean, there's a lot of women who've used, you know, I was a finalist in the Boutique Awards, and attached it to their name, bringing more awareness to boutique fashion. Has that been helpful?
Oh my gosh, yes. And honestly, I think one thing, so most of our customers, you know, they know like my name, they know who I am. They were like friends or whatever. And so they'll see it, and they'll get like random people. They're like, congratulations, Kelsey. And they'll like tag me. And honestly, I don't know who half these people are, but I'm like, thank you so much, you know. But honestly, I kind of forget just how cool it is. I try not to like let my head go anywhere. I think it's super cool, and I can't even tell you how grateful I am of it. But I don't like sit and think like, oh my gosh, I got, you know, Boutique of the Year. It is so cool. And it's honestly when someone else says it is when it hits me. I don't like sit and think about it. But when I put that, people are just like congratulating me. And it really, especially when I was at the summit and, you know, this year and spoke, it's amazing. I honestly, I can't even explain. It's the biggest achievement I've ever had in my life. I mean, honestly, absolutely the greatest thing that I've ever, the night of the summit when I got to speak, that was the greatest night of my life, aside from having my beautiful children. Obviously they beat it, but I'm not playing. Like that was the greatest night of my life. I felt so loved. I felt so grateful. And I mean, I can't even explain it. I don't even know how to express just how I felt, but it's an awesome feeling to have won that. And it's awesome that y'all do that for us. It really is.
I love that it gives your customers an opportunity to recognize you and thank you, and every single boutique that participates, whether they win or not.
Yeah.
If they really participate, it's an opportunity for them to have a conversation about what it means to support a small business and what it means to have boutique fashion available in this big box and Amazon fashion world, right?
Yeah.
Opportunity for them. So I love that you took a hold of it like you did and ran with it. And then I get goosebumps thinking about it too. The fact that you had Aubrey on stage with you this year, how cool was that?
She still talks about it. I mean, she really does. And I mean, we're in such a small town. Like, we went to the doctor the other day, and her doctor was like, I saw you on stage, because she got to see the clip. And Aubrey, I mean, she, for real, like, she thinks she's famous. Like, this is a big deal. And she's got her trophy in her room. Like, I can't. It's so cute. That whole thing, like, made her life. Mine too, but she talks about it all the time. She loved that. That was awesome.
So cool. So tell me about what it's like to balance, where you're at now with this growing successful business and being a mom at the same time. How do you keep your family time sacred so you're not constantly
right? It's hard, and I don't know. That's something I've never like really tapped into, but like in the community, and like the other moms that are like a single household, single parent household, and I know, like, sometimes I think about it, I'm like, this is all like on me on these nights, and I've got new arrivals, and I got to get my kids bathed, and I got to do this, and I know that, like, with a husband, and maybe sometimes they're not as helpful as you want them to be or whatever. I get that, but it is helpful to have somebody help you, even just for a minute. And sometimes I don't get that minute, and that's okay, because they're kind of just with me everywhere. Balancing's tough. It is. I mean, I would love, to be able to just go home some nights and not be up here. But like with us right now, it's almost impossible. How am I supposed to walk out of this warehouse to go home and enjoy my family when I've got my staff who's that dedicated that they're up here, they've got families, and they're up here until 9? I can't walk away from that. And that's just part of the growing pains. Then we've added on people and we found more balance, but there for a while, I mean, you can't, I just don't have the heart to do that. I can't be like, hey, I pay y'all, see y'all later. I'm going home to chill with my kids, have fun working. You got to stay. It sucks. But like, I've got the, I have taken them to daycare like 3 days this summer, which has been really nice. But they have been up here. But honestly, I thought they were going to kill each other for real. And they ripped this beanbag open. And I don't know if you've ever ripped a beanbag open, but it's filled with little tiny styrofoam balls, and they were all over the warehouse. And the same day, that's when we found out that my kids had shipped 2 dirty socks inside of a purse that was overlooked. And I was so done. Like, I can't even explain. There was like pizza on the floor and like a corn dog in the kid room and this busted beanbag, and they were fighting. And then I found out we shipped these dirty socks, and I'm like, I'm done with both of you. Like, find an island to live on this summer. But I did take them to daycare. And that has been really nice. And they've come home and they've been so nice and they get along. And I'm like, hey, this is great. There's balance right there. They don't have to be with me 24/7. It's okay.
I'd love to know what the woman who got the dirty socks in her purse that she ordered. I would just love to know her response.
I hate to even tell you this, and I would love to have some really funny response back, but she didn't. She's probably gone forever. And yeah, we were like so nice. And I mean, well, you don't want our dirty socks? Sorry. Yeah, I didn't even, that day was, yeah. Yeah. So.
Well, so let's do this before we ask our last question of the show. I warned you, this is going to be like a 2-hour podcast.
Hey, that's all right.
Let's do a lightning round of quick questions, and then I'll do our final question. So, first one, what scares you the most, snakes, payroll, or internet trolls?
Payroll. No. Payroll. Or trolls. But I'm not scared of snakes and the trolls don't bother me anymore.
That's good. More realistic these days.
No. Yeah.
Favorite podcast or book?
Book. Well, I'm going to be really lame right now and go ahead and say that I don't listen to a lot of podcasts and I don't ever read. But I did just finish The Office, if that can count. But I'm really lame. I don't. I started a book and I got like 2 chapters in. I would love to have a good answer for you, but I'm a loser and I don't.
That's all right. The Office counts.
Disregard.
I like it. Best business advice you've ever received?
Oh, that's tough. Gosh. I don't know. That one's hard. Probably Barbara that night when I had came to her, that's the lady with the building, and just telling me that it was like God's plan and to accept the failure and to keep pushing forward. And it really hit me that night. I remember that feeling, and that was the best advice that I can think of by far.
That's perfect. Last one, turquoise or diamonds?
Oh, turquoise.
Amen.
Doesn't even have to be real. Just turquoise.
I like it. All right. So last question. And this is kind of the question for everyone. And I'd love to hear the answers of this, because I truly believe that this is why we are not only in business individually, but this is our reason behind the Boutique Hub as well. It's about impact and the people that you touch and the lives that you change along the way. So I would love to know, whatever happens to the Lace Cactus in the future, you sell it, you grow it, you pass it on, whatever it is. You and Aubrey and Ben are sitting on your porch someday in the future. They're grown and maybe they even have children of their own. And you're telling them this story the way that you just told me. I would love to know, what is the thing that you want them to remember about your story and what you built the most, that you think is really your lasting impact and why you've gone through this the way that you have?
I hope they remember, and I hope that everyone, when that day, comes, that I was extremely stubborn and that I never quit, ever. No matter what was thrown at me, I never, ever quit on my dream. And I really, not how many sales I made, nothing like that. I want them, no matter what happens to this, I want it to be remembered that I never, ever would give up.
So good. Well, Kelsey, I want to thank you so much for not only coming on the show today, but being a part of the summit, being a part of the Boutique Awards, just genuinely sharing who you are, the good, the bad, the ugly, the ups, the downs, and giving other women who are following your journey permission to be okay with theirs too. Yeah. I think that your impact is far greater than what you even see now or will see, but it's the people that kind of watch from the shadows that think, you know what, if she can do it, I can do it too. That's pretty special. So thank you for being a part of all of this.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for everything you've done in my life. You've done a lot more than you realize. I hope you know that. So, thank you for everything. Thanks for having me today. It's been awesome.
Awesome.
Hey guys, was that a good episode or what? I just am so appreciative of Kelsey spending her time with us and being so open and real with her story. She is definitely a leader in this industry for sure. Hey, if you are listening and you're wondering what the Global Boutique of the Year and the Boutique Awards are all about, well, know that the 2018 Boutique Awards launched again this week, and we're back better than ever, ready to celebrate the best boutiques in the world. And here's a little bit of a breakdown of the categories. We're celebrating the Global Boutique of the Year across the United States, Australia, Canada, and the UK, and the Global First Runner-Up, as well as individual categories across all 50 US states, the UK, Canada, and Australia. And this is the categories of online, mobile, storefront, and children's boutique of the year, plus the overall boutique of the year in each of those 53 locations. In total, we're recognizing more than 250 boutiques worldwide, and we're doing this for one reason. We're doing this because we know that boutique fashion is fashion on Main Street and fashion for women, men, and children worldwide. It is a boutique owner's greatest opportunity to serve and love their customers like no one else can. So together we know as a boutique industry, if we rise up and raise our voices together, that we can bring an entirely new awareness to boutique fashion around the world. So these owners are being celebrated and voted on by their very own community, recognizing them for what they do in their communities and in their customers' lives. So if you want to be a part of it, or if you want to go and vote and support boutiques that you love, make sure you head on over to theboutiqueawards.com. Voting runs from July 16th to August 1st. Guys, thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. We will be back with some pretty exciting episodes in the next couple of weeks as we gear up for a super busy show season in August. We're going to be coming to you with trend reports and show details if you'll be traveling to some upcoming shows, as well as a very special episode next week. Because in case you didn't know it, we are celebrating a big birthday at the Boutique Hub, and we're celebrating by offering an Ask Ashley episode, which I haven't even looked at these questions yet. So to be honest, I don't know what's going to be in there. If you have some questions you'd like me to answer, message me on Instagram at AJAlderson for Ask Ashley Anything. And I'll come back next week with all of your answers. All right, guys, I hope you have an awesome week ahead. Good luck to everyone participating in the Boutique Awards, and we'll talk more soon. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. We hope that you loved it. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave a rating and review down below for a chance to be one of our featured listeners each and every week. For more information on our spirit of community over competition and how to access complete show notes and bonus downloads from our guests, head on over to theboutiquehub.com and join the community. We'll see you next week.